Hey everyone! Today we're diving into an idea that can totally transform how you see your role in the classroom. We're talking about shifting from just being a teacher to also being a researcher. It's a mindset that makes your classroom more dynamic, more responsive, and way more effective. So let's jump right in. So, I want to start with this one simple question. What if your classroom wasn't just a place to deliver lessons, but it was your own personal laboratory, a place where you could experiment, observe, and make real discoveries about how your students actually learn? Think about that for a second. And that question leads us straight to our main topic today, this incredible shift in the role of a teacher. You're moving from being just a deliverer of information to becoming an active investigator of learning. You become the lead researcher in the most important lab there is, your own classroom. So what does that actually mean? Well, a teacher researcher isn't just asking, did I teach that lesson? Nope, they're asking the real questions. Did my students learn it? And how can I know for sure? It's all about systematically looking at your own teaching and your students' learning with one single goal, making both better. Okay, so how do you do this systematically? I mean, where do you even start? Well, the main tool, the blueprint, if you will, for a teacher researcher is something called the action research cycle. Honestly, you can just think of it as the scientific method, but built specifically for the classroom. And this cycle is what creates this amazing upward spiral of improvement. It starts with a plan. You spot a problem and come up with a strategy. Then you act. You actually try it. Now here's the crucial part. You observe. You gather data about what's happening. And finally, you reflect on that data, which then fuels your next plan. It's such a powerful loop. Let's make this super concrete, okay? Imagine you've noticed your students are just silent during group work. That's your problem. So your plan could be to introduce some structured speaking roles. The act is trying that out for a week. The observation is you tracking who's talking and for how long. And the reflection is looking at that data and deciding, hey, did that actually work? See? Simple, focused, and incredibly effective. Now, the engine that powers this whole cycle is a particular mindset. It's called practitioner inquiry. And really, it's just this core belief that the very best solutions to classroom problems come from the practitioner, from you, the teacher. And this slide just nails the difference. Traditional academic research often looks for that one-size-fits-all answer. But practitioner inquiry, it's not about finding some universal law. It's about solving the unique puzzle of your kids in your classroom. It's driven by the very practical need to teach better, right here, right now. So the whole idea is that this approach is, by its very nature, specific to your context. It cares about your students. It's all driven by pedagogy, the art and science of teaching. And maybe most importantly, it's empowering. It puts you, the teacher, right where you belong, as the #1 expert on your own practice. All right, so we've got the framework, that's action research, and we've got the mindset, that's practitioner inquiry. Now for the fun part. Let's open up the toolkit. What are the actual instruments you can use to gather data in your classroom laboratory? Tool #1 is one of the simplest and honestly one of the most powerful, a teacher journal. And this isn't just for, venting at the end of a long day. It's for something called narrative inquiry. Basically, it's about using reflection to really understand your classroom. When you jot down what happened after a lesson, you start to see these little patterns that you'd totally miss otherwise. Patterns in your students' behavior, and yeah, even in your own teaching habits. Okay, next up, we absolutely need the learner's perspective. You can get this with super simple tools like exit tickets, where students write down one thing they learned before they pack up. This is your reality check. It's how you find out if the amazing lesson you thought you taught is the one your students actually walked away with. And finally, tool #3, bring in a trusted colleague for some peer observation. Having an outside eye is a game changer because they can spot things you're just too busy managing the class to see. They can collect simple, objective data, like tallying how many seconds you wait for an answer after you ask a question. It's brilliant for finding those little teacher blind spots we all have. So let's put all these pieces together. We've got the action research framework, the practitioner inquiry mindset, and this awesome set of practical tools. Let's see how they combine to create one cohesive teaching toolkit. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? The action research cycle gives you the process. The practitioner inquiry mindset makes sure your solutions are relevant to your students. And then the tools, like journals and peer observation, give you the actual data you need, from both inside your own head and from an outside perspective. Each part just clicks together to create this incredible system for professional growth. And at the end of the day, this is why it all matters so much. I love this quote from the source material. This whole approach helps us bridge that gap between abstract theory and the messy reality of the classroom. It ensures our teaching stays dynamic and responsive and is always, always grounded in what our students truly need. So I'll leave you with this final thought, which takes us right back to the beginning. Now that you've got the blueprint and the tools, what's the very first problem, the first puzzle you're going to investigate in your classroom laboratory?